Hello, welcome back to Indulgence with Dr. T. This weekend, what I'm going to do for you is the eye swatches that I promised for the Natasha Denona bronze palette. So, let me start with giving you some of the details. So this is what the box looked like that it came in. And you get 15 shadows in the palette. And I've already done the arm swatches for you in my other video, so I will link that to this video so you can see those. And so in this video, what I'll just do is the eye swatches. So what I will do is put one color on each eye for you to see, just so you can see what the colors actually look like on my skin tone as opposed to the swatches. And as I mentioned before, the arm swatches, I try not to read too much into that when I do them, because the way that the shadows appear on my eyelids are very different than what they appear like when I swatch them on my arm. And so just because something either swatches poorly or swatches great doesn't mean that that's going to be the same type of performance that it's going to do for me when I put it on my eyelids. So it's great to just see what the color looks like against my skin tone, but also when I do an arm swatch, but just keeping in mind that that might not be what it looks like when I'm actually using either a brush or my fingers to put it on the lids. All right. So I think I'm ready to get started for you. All right, so what I'll do is I'll just go across in each row so you can see what all the colors look like. So what I'll start with is True Copper. And for this particular palette, I realized that the colors work a lot better when I do prime my lids. And so I'm going to do that with my Fenty eyeshadow primer. So I'll do a priming for both of my eyes for all the colors that I swatched today. All right. So the first color I will swatch is True Copper. Metallic shades of almost any palette I typically like to apply with my fingers because I feel that's how I get the best color payoff. Wiping off my fingers. And then what I will do is use a more fluffy crease brush so you can see what that will look like with the brush in the crease area. Okay, so this is True Copper. And next I'm going to do Suntan. And so there are a few colors in this palette that I don't think I would end up using long term. Suntan, Sundown, Ridge, and Beach being primarily the ones that for me would not be extremely useful long term. I can see how they would be useful for a lighter skinned person to use maybe as a crease shade, or, you know, I'm not a makeup artist, which let me warn you about that. I'm just an average person that just likes high-end makeup brands. And so I am not a professional. I am a luxury makeup enthusiast, not a professional makeup artist. And so uses for makeup that you might be able to get out of it are probably things that I probably would not do on a regular basis. My point of when I'm using my makeup is to get my makeup on and get out of the house in the mornings to get to work, or if I'm going to some kind of event. But for the most part, makeup is not what I do all day, every day. I'm not an expert by any means. This is just so you can see what these colors look like on my skin tone. And I will put my reference shades for foundations in the description box just so you can get an idea of whether or not you're about my skin tone, so you can know if this is what the palette would look like on you. Alright, so with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and try Suntan just so you can see what it looks like. It appears to be a matte shade, and so I'm just going to use, make sure it's clean. This is my Refer something. Oh, S01. So that's actually not terrible. Okay, I've got that on the lid. And then I'm going to use my Refer 16 to take that same color Suntan and put it in the crease. So these were True Copper and Suntan. So I'm just going to take a minute to remove those colors so I can swatch the next set of colors for you. Okay, the next two colors that I'll be swatching are Sundown and Deep Dive. Sundown appears to be a matte color. So I'm just going to clean off my Sonia G Worker Pro. Refer 16. I'll clean that off with my color switcher. Make sure it's clean. I'll go back in with Sundown in the crease, I think. Oh, there it goes. Okay. Doesn't have to be perfect. I'm not going anywhere with this on, so that's good enough. So that's Sundown, and then Deep Dive. Deep Dive is one of her sort of cream to matte formulas, I believe, which she uses for some of her darker colors, like in this palette and her Metropolis palette. I tried putting it on with a different brush earlier, and it just felt awkward. So this time I'm going to try using my Refer P21 brush, which is sort of flat brush. I don't know how else to describe it. So let's see. That seems to be picking up product very well. And I'll just kind of pat that on for the lid, and then I'll use a crease brush to get it into the crease. Alright. That's good. For the crease, I'll go with a Refer 01. Make sure that's clean. So this is Sundown and Deep Dive. Alright, the next two colors that I'll be using are Rhodium, which is sort of a lighter purple color up here, and Magma down here. I'm going to use that flatter brush again, since this seems to be a creamy sort of color in Rhodium. Let's see how that does. Okay. And we'll get another crease brush. This is a Refer 16. Make sure it's clean. That's pretty. I mean, it's not extremely visible, I feel like, on my skin tone. But, I mean, it's like a nice purple-ish sort of color. Alright. Actually, I think it makes a pretty good sort of color that I would use in the crease. Maybe more than on the lid. Just because of how I like to apply my makeup, and I like a more bold color on the lid. So I would probably use this primarily in the crease. So, yes. Anyways. Magma. Let's go with... I'm going to use my Sonia G Builder Pro and wipe it off with my little color switcher thing here. And make sure it's clean on my white towel. Yep. go in with Magma. And I really like this color. It would be a beautiful crease color. It's kind of a rusty tone. Okay. And I'll use my Rephr 16 again, clean it off with my color switcher. Get all the colors off with my towel. See how that color shows up pretty well there. And it's got sort of that reddish tint to it. So there is Magma. And Rhodium. Alright, the next colors that I'll be trying are High Degree and Alloy. So High Degree and Alloy both appear to be metallic colors. So I'll apply those first with my fingers and then I'll use a brush. Okay, and then again my Rephr 16. Again into High Degree just so you can see what it would look like in the crease as well as on the lid. And I am not left-handed. I should probably switch hands. There we go. That is very pretty. Again, that is High Degree. And next I'll be using Alloy. Cleaning off my fingers. Another metallic shade. Oh, that's really pretty. I'm wondering if this color, is it duochrome? I think it is. Because on my lid, at some angles, I can see that it's gold, and at some angles it looks more orange. So I think it is like a duochrome shifting kind of color. Alright, again with a Rephr 16. Make sure it's nice and clean. Back in with Alloy into the crease so you can see what it looks like as a crease shade. Alright. So those are those two, High Degree and Alloy. Okay, the next colors that I'll be trying for you are Ridge and True Bronze. So first Ridge, which appears to be a matte shade. And I'm using my Sonia G Worker Pro for this. Okay. And again, with a crease brush, I'm going to use my Rephr 16. Back into Ridge. I mean, you can see it. I don't know that I would use this color on a regular basis for much of anything, but at least when I use the primer, at least you can actually see it on my skin tone. So there you have it. So next, of course, True Bronze. It's more of a creamy color. Let me try it with my fingers. See how that does. Now to me, this is giving me similar feel as Alloy. It's kind of gold and kind of an orange sort of shift. Maybe even like, almost as though it's a topper version of the Alloy color. Maybe, because it's like, it's not quite as, maybe opaque is the right word I'm looking for. Let me try using this P21 brush and see if I can get better application than with my fingers for this color, because it actually does seem to be similar to the formula of the Rhodium. Okay, I think that worked. I think that gave me a little bit more opaque sort ofness than sort of a sheer type of application. But again, the I don't know, it seems like maybe the glitters or whatever is shiny in this one are just larger than an alloy. Like alloy may be a more fine formula. Let me use, what crease brush do I want? Alright, so my reference 16 again. What color was I using? Oh, on True Bronze. Let's go back in with this into the crease. Yeah, it's really giving me a similar vibe, I feel, as alloy. So I'm going to use my Worker Pro again to put alloy on the lid just so I can see alloy next to True Bronze. Actually, no, use my finger. Get it on there. There we go. That's much better. Okay, I can see a little bit of difference. I want to say that True Bronze is maybe a little cooler in tone, like maybe it's neutral as compared to a more warm alloy, maybe. Get number 16 again. So yeah, I don't know, they both kind of have a gold shift to them and like an orangish color, but I think this one is more either cool tone or neutral, and this one is a little bit warmer. And so I think that's probably the main difference between them. And I still do feel like I want to call it glitter, but I know it's not. It's probably not glitter in this. That shows the shiny portion of the True Bronze. It seems like those particles are bigger than the alloy. And so I think going forward, I would use True Bronze more as a topper shade. Whereas if I wanted to do something directly on the lid, I would go more with alloy just based on the formula. Alright, so those are those two. Alright, the next colors I'll be trying for you are Gloaming, I believe that's how that's pronounced, and Palladium. They both seem to be metallic type colors, so I'm just going to use my fingers first with both of them. This is Gloaming. And similar to alloy, this is giving me sort of a shift, I feel. But the shift in this one, or the tone of this one, is much more red or orange. Maybe a red-orange. And then shifts to a gold. And this is my Refer 15, back into Gloaming, into the crease. So you can see what this looks like as a crease shade. Alright, so there's that. And then clean off my finger. And we'll do Palladium on this other eye. And Refer 16 again. And Palladium. And this one seems more peach, maybe, in color, compared to all the other colors in the palette so far. And I feel like it's kind of cooler toned than a lot of the other colors. So this again is Gloaming and Palladium. Alright, so the next colors I will try for you are Bliss and Silk. If I don't drop the palette, which would be a disaster. So Bliss is this color, and then this one is Silk. And Silk also seems more sort of a chunkier type formula, almost similar to the True Bronze. whereas Bliss seems more fine. So make sure my fingers are clean. Going, with Bliss with my finger. It's giving me the same vibe as Alloy, and I think what was the other one? Gloaming. Except this one seems to have maybe a hint of a green shift to it, maybe? It's kind of a red or a red-orange, gold, and maybe green. I'm going to use that Repher 21 brush again with Bliss to see if I can get more impact on the lid. Yeah, that didn't make much of a difference, but that's fine. Okay, and for 16, nice and clean. Again with Bliss in the crease. So there's Bliss. I don't know, hopefully you can see that sort of a green shift to it. And Silk. Show fingers are clean. Oh wow, that's really shiny. Super impactful color. And it does seem to have larger particles than Bliss and Alloy. Would probably make a great topper shade. I'm liking it on the lid. I would probably use this a lot for inner corner work and as a topper shade. I'm going to use the same 21 brush with Silk again just to get it on the inner corner here where my finger didn't reach very well. That is lovely. Alright, crease. For 16, getting off with my color switcher. My white towel, make sure it's nice and clean. Alright, I'll go in with some of Silk in the crease so you can see what it would look like as a crease shade. Now this particular color has, I feel like it has a bit more fallout than some of the other shades. Or I was just a little bit more messy with my application of this one. I don't really mind fallout, I just wipe it off afterwards. It's not a big deal to me, but if you are a person that cares about fallout, just to know that that Silk color has more fallout, it seems like, than others. So, what was this again? Bliss and Silk on the eyes. Alright, so the last color in this palette is Beach. That's that last color right here. Since there is an odd number of shadows in this palette, I'll just end up with just one color. And so what I'll do is actually go back in with either Sundown or Ridge on this eye, just so I can see what those colors look like next to each other, because they seem like they might be similar. So let me do Beach first. A lot of kickback there. So although this is one of those lighter colors, compared to the others, it seems a little bit more peachy, I think, than the other mattes. I'm going to use my Sony G Crease Pro for this one. So again with Beach, going into the crease. Yeah, at least it shows up, you know. I'm going to use my Farrah, I don't know what this brush is called, but it's a brush that I like to use to diffuse colors on the edges in my crease. I think I kind of need a more diffuse blending out of this one here. Yeah, sure. So yeah, there's Beach. I don't know that I would ever use this color for much of anything. Let me use my color switcher with my Refer 01 brush. Make sure it's clean. Now let me see. This is Ridge, Beach, and then Sundown. Honestly, probably on the lid could not tell the difference between any of these. Let's go with Sundown, since I think that one was warmer. Running out of brushes. This is my 16. One of my Refer 16s. That was Sundown I was using. I mean, I guess they're different. Sundown is warmer, I guess, than Beach, which I think is neutral. So those are these two. I don't think I would get much use out of either one of these colors. Like they're just not my thing. There you go. All right, so now that we're finished with the eye swatches, I think what I want to do next is create an eye look using the colors in this palette, but two different sets of colors that I think look similar to one another, just so I can see how the colors actually perform next to one another. So colors that I thought that looked similar, see what they actually look like when you apply them. So I don't think that I would end up using Sundown, Ridge, or Beach in the future. So what I'm going to do is use Magma as a matte on one eye and Suntan as the matte in the other, since those are the two that I think I would actually use in the future. So this is my Refer 16 going in with Magma on this eye. And this is my other Refer 16. Turn off on my color switcher, my towel, and I'm going to use this one in Suntan. So you can see those are clearly different colors, which is great. I'm going to go back in with my other Refer 16 back with Magma just to kind of even this eye out with the other. So they are clearly different colors. I don't know that I would choose one necessarily over the other to create any particular look. All right, so next, let's do, how about we do Alloy on one eye and True Bronze as the main color on the other eye. I think typically I would end up using True Bronze more for inner corner, but since I thought that they looked so similar, just curious what they would look like next to each other on the lid. So this is Alloy. I'm using this one on the Magma eye. Popping that right in the middle. We're going to use another couple other colors. Alright, and then the same thing with True Bronze on this eye. Primarily in the middle. Try to get them on evenly on both eyes. Okay, so that's what we've got going so far. Alright, what else I want to use? Let's see. Gloaming and True Copper kind of look similar, although I don't remember from the eye swatches if they reminded me of each other or not. Well, let's try that next. I'm gonna use those. So I'm gonna go out here. I think I'm gonna use those just out here on the outer sides. Usually I use like a deeper color there, but I don't know. I feel like just playing around with the colors. So True Copper I'll use on this eye. And this is my Suntan Builder Pro. Another thing to consider is that now this color is kind of layering and mixing with magma, so that might also impact the performance of it. I'm going to clean off my builder just because I love this brush. Maybe I should get another one. I should probably get another builder. Okay, so it's clean. And I'm going to use Gloaming now on the other eye. I don't know about y'all, but these eyes are looking fairly similar to me, at least. Okay. So now what? Let's do something else here and here. Let's do... I don't know. I guess I feel like Bliss is clearly a different color in the palette because of that sort of green shift that it gets to it. I'm wondering if I should do Palladium and Silk. They don't really remind me of each other, but let's just see what those two look like kind of side by side. Alright, so Palladium I'll use on this eye, here on the inner side here. And this is a Pencil Pro from Suntan. Alright, so that's pretty. And then I think I have another pencil. Do I have another Pencil Pro? I'm sure I've got another Pencil Pro around here somewhere, but I don't know where it is. So we'll use reference number 3 and we'll do Silk, which I can already tell is clearly a much more sort of chunky formula. That's like a little more like dazzly, I guess you could say. I don't know, what do you guys think? I think the eyes are looking pretty similar despite using two completely different sets of colors within the same palette. So for inner corner, and let me use, what is this? My Sigma E30 pencil. I'm going to use, I'm going to go ahead and just use, I'm going to use Bliss on the inner corner of this eye, which I know is really, I think that is probably the most unique shade in the palette. And actually, depending on how I hold the mirror, it just looks like it's just actually just a green color that's on my inner corner there. I want to use a different color in the other corner. I will, just for the sake of being different. There's another pencil brush, another Refer 03. I'm just gonna go with high degree. So I know that'll end up making the eyes look different, but I'm gonna take that same Sigma brush and clean that off. Alright, so I'm going to, let's see, do something around the bottom lash line. Let's go with Deep Dive on the bottom lash line on this eye. This is my, I think, Peaches and Pearl, yeah, my Andrea Renee Peaches and Pearl pencil brush. I'm gonna go with Rhodium on the bottom of the other eye, which I know those colors were not similar to me, but I mean, they're the two purpley colors, so I feel like I'm not even using that same Sigma brush from before with Deep Dive, just to even it out. Okay, so I think that's pretty much it. So this is what the two different eye looks came out looking like, and these are just all colors from within the very same palette, and with the exception of the inner corner and the lower lash line, I do feel like both eyes came out looking fairly similar to one another. So I don't know how I feel about that. Again, I'm not a professional makeup artist. I'm sure that the colors would look, the differences in the colors would be more impactful or meaningful to someone who is in the makeup industry or using color much more in depth than I am just to go to work. So for me, I'm not sure that this palette is, I guess, varied enough in color story that I would think that you need this palette or need all the shades within this palette. I feel like I would be able to cut this whole palette down to maybe 6 colors and be able to make the exact same, or maybe not the exact same, but very similar eye looks over and over again, than have all these colors together. Now, I do have some other Natasha Denona's palettes, and I have various sizes of her palettes, but the other two that I would say are comparable to this palette, just in size and price, would be the Love palette and the Sunrise palette. Let me see if I can hold these up side by side for you so you can see them. And I feel like the other palettes are much more varied in their color story, and to me that makes those palettes a little bit more worth the money. So there's Love next to Bronze, and then this is Sunrise next to Bronze. And so what I think I'm going to end up doing is, when you look at these palettes, if you look on the back of them, there are these little pinholes that you can use to pop out the shades, and then you can actually exchange some of the little pans with the pans in the others. And so what I think I'm actually going to end up doing is using, at first I was thinking I was just going to return this palette because I didn't feel like the colors were varied enough after I played with it for a couple of times. And also when I was putting on the shadows without using a primer, I was having a lot of trouble with the colors showing up at all on my skin tone. So that's why I ended up using the Fenty primer during this video for all of the eye swatches, just so you can get a true sense of what they would look like if you're using them with a primer, because I wanted to give them like a fair chance. And using them without the primer, I knew that they were just not showing up basically on my skin tone at all, especially those 3 light matte colors just were not doing anything. What I think I'm going to do is use this bronze palette, not on its own, but I'm actually going to keep it, but use it to enhance my other palettes that are the similar size. So there are a couple of colors in, for example, this is the Sunrise palette again. So what I think I would do is end up taking out Morning and Morgan, since those are colors that I really don't use at all. I don't know if you can tell, but just looking in the pan, you can see that they have never basically been touched besides for swatching them. So I would take those out and then use some colors in the bronze palette to help to replace those 2 colors that I wouldn't use anyway with colors that I would actually use, and to sort of give more pop or more shine to this palette. And then, similar with my Love palette, and it's not to say that none of her other palettes, there's colors that don't look very similar on my skin tone. So for instance, Heartbeat and Trust tend to look pretty similar. Dream looks pretty different, but I could create similar looks, I think, with Dream and Trust. I don't ever use First. You can see that one is basically untouched, as well as Valentine. I don't really use very much. So those 2 I would probably end up taking out, and maybe even one of the Trust or Dream color to take out. I use Heartbeat a lot as my crease color when I'm using this palette, so I would leave that one there. I don't think I've ever used Intense. It looks pretty untouched. So I might take out, and then Intense and Soul, when they perform on the lids, I think these 2 looked pretty similar on my lids also. So I don't need both of them, I don't think, in this palette. So I think First, Intense, Valentine, and maybe Trust I could take out, and then again use shades that I would be more likely to use from the bronze palette to help enhance this palette. Especially if I'm traveling and I don't want to take, both of the palettes, I just whittle it down into one. That would be one that would be more likely to use the entire palette than just have colors that I'm traveling with that I would never actually end up dipping into. So that is the comparisons, or that is just my opinion of the 3 similar size palettes that she has. Of course, she has a much more expansive range of palettes, but those 3 being fairly recent releases that are of similar size and same value. So some other palettes that I have in my collection. Do I like this palette? Yes. I don't feel like I absolutely need it or I need to keep it. If I did not already have it, I probably would say I would not buy it, because of all of the things that I have in my collection that I'm going to show you that I think would get a similar job done. So this is my Jackie Aina palette from Anastasia Beverly Hills, and this is not the same, and that's not what I'm saying with the rest of what I'm going to show you. It's not that these are not the same colors or even dupes. It's just, for my purposes, I could get similar looks using these other palettes that I don't think that I absolutely 100% need to have this as part of my collection. So, if you look at the Jackie Aina palette, when I'm looking at Credit, Ginger, Wigglies, and even Lituation, and even Zam, a lot of those colors are, to me, similar to what we have going on in the bronze palette. And so I feel like, oh, and edges. And I just dug my whole finger into True Copper. So I put that down. I think that using those colors in here, if you have this palette, you can create some looks that are similar to what you would have going on using the bronze palette. Let's see. I have a lot of Viseart palettes. The one that came to mind as being very similar to the bronze palette in terms of color story is the Spritz palette. Again, not exactly the same, but sort of that browns and bronzy type colors. There's kind of a more reddish color that reminds me of magma. And so again, not exactly the same, but having this palette, I think I could accomplish very similar looks to what I could accomplish with this one for me. I also have a few other Viseart smaller palettes that also give me other colors that are similar to what's in the bronze palette. So for example, my Dark Edit palette has a little darker purple that I could take and switch out into the Spritz palette, because again, there's colors in here even that I never use. So I pretty much don't use this whole top row. I sometimes use this one, but these three hardly ever get any use. So I could put that deeper purple from the Dark Edit into there and come up with a similar color story to what I have going on in the bronze palette. And then this is, what is this? This is my Viseart Petite Pro, the Soleil palette, but I don't believe that these colors are exactly what was in the palette originally. Again, this is another palette that it's very easy to switch out the colors. So you just take, there's little magnetized little palettes in there, or pans. And so I think it came with a color that I don't use. And so maybe a couple of the colors in here are not what was originally in here. But the color that I do have in here, this darker purple, I could take out and use and put in this one to give me that sort of darker purple color that you get with that deep dive color. And then even this color here, is another one that I would probably use that gives me a similar feel to a lot of the colors in the bronze palette. So combining a couple of my Viseart palettes, I feel like I could get what I get out of that palette. The palette that I see a lot of people comparing the Natasha Denona bronze palette to is the Pat McGrath bronze Seduction palette. And so here is what bronze Seduction looks like. Oh. Just hold it this way. So this is what the bronze Seduction palette looks like. I love this palette. It's beautiful. The colors come out. They all look different when I put them on my lids, despite them, to me, even looking similar in the pan, like these two colors. But they actually perform differently. And so you've kind of got that bronzy colors. You've got a little bit of that pink that shifts into a greeny color as well. So yeah, so this is just another option. And for me, this palette just in general works better on my skin tone than the Natasha Denona bronze palette. And then, in addition to the bronze Seduction, there's also bronze Ambition, which is one of the smaller palettes from Pat McGrath that has, of course, another bronze sort of theme. And so, try to get this out without destroying everything. Alright, and not blinding you. So this is, you know what? I'll put my glasses on so I can see what I'm showing y'all now that I'm done with the makeup. Alright, there we go. That's much better. Alright, so this is the Bronze Ambition. And so again, another similar color story that I feel like I can get a lot of similar, not the same, but similar looks out of using this as compared to the Natasha Denona bronze palette. And all of these colors show up really well on my skin tone, and they all look different. Well, I think that's it for comparisons and such. Oh, I have not shown you guys, I don't think, these two. I know I did them, I used them in my previous video together. Right now what I have on is Chestnut. Pretty sure that's what this color is called. And then this one is Chroma Coral. Alright. This is what the Chroma Coral looks like on its own. Alright. So I like them both. I think I'm going to end up using this one more as a topper for other colors. I wouldn't wear it by itself, just because of the fact that I like more impactful colors on my lips. Not to say that no one can use it on its own. That's just for me. I think it does make a nice, like, just regular lip gloss, so that would be an option. But I do like it paired with Chestnut. I do like Chestnut as sort of a almost like a nude color. So yeah, I think that is it. I didn't end up getting the cheek palette because I didn't think that those colors would end up showing up my skin tone. I have two of her other cheek palettes, the Natasha Denona Love palette and the Bloom Blush and Glow, which I really enjoy. So I just didn't feel like I needed that one. And I also don't have I think she has one called Tan, maybe? And that one, I could tell just by looking at it, the colors weren't going to show up on me. If you want me to try those, let me know down in the comments. I'll be happy to get them and try them for you, just so you can see what they look like on our skin tone, but they just didn't appeal to me. But I do like the two that I have for her already. Alright, so I think that concludes this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Let me know down in the comments if you'd like to see that palette, the bronze palette, compared to any other palettes. If you want me to do a video showing side by side eye looks from that palette versus the Bronze Ambition or what have you, just let me know what you want to see. Alright, so I hope you guys have a beautiful day and join me again.